Good evening, this is your host, CENDEARAH on the NETERAL radio show, where bronze women worldwide come together in harmony, respect, and unity to encourage holistic and sufficient discussions as a way of empowerment and upliftment for all bronze women of all shades worldwide on the NETERAL radio show. Today's date is August 14, 2018 on a Tuesday evening, and the time right now is 10 p.m. And tonight's hot topic is about bronze women and etiquette. Please be advised that this is a 60-minute audio recording, so you all can stay tuned. So, basically a brief overview of last week's topic was about the rebirth of the bronze man. And a brief overview consists of how to determine the balance between your mental and physical strength as a bronze man, what the past represents and the future defined as a bronze man, and how the rebirth of the bronze man will impact the next generation and worldwide order to come. And last but not least, in the beginning of the show, I talked about what was the difference between an alpha and a beta man. I spoke about very briefly how alpha men been through a lot of experience, meaning development, and also been through special encounters, which defines their direct elevation of who and what they are as bronze men. Okay, so if you are a bronze man and you're interested in a topic in itself, you might want to take a listen on the show. Okay, but tonight's show, once again, is about bronze women and etiquette. One of the things that I just wanted to, just put out there just to ease the paveway of what this show, just giving an introduction of what the show is about. This is not about me saying how you have to eat. When you go into a restaurant, you must have the fork on this side, and you must have the napkins on this side, and you must speak a certain way. Like, this show is not about that. It's very practical, and I promise you will get something live and lit from the show that will spark something in you soulfully as a bronze woman and give you a different outlook on the show. So I promise you that you want to continue to maintain and listen to the show. Okay, so this is not about that, stuck up or snobbish way and how to be and things like that, although that has a lot to do with it. But it's just to give a practical view and more grounded view on, etiquettes in itself. Okay. So the first question is, what is the difference between manners and proper etiquette? Because there is a difference between the two. Okay. Mannerism is how you behave, you speak, and how you live from day to day that is socially acceptable and respectable. Okay, and etiquette is only a reference to social coding of polite behavior and gestures. Okay, so I just, wanted to pave the way of the difference between the two. And the mannerism has a lot to do with how you was brought up as a bronze woman. Okay, don't get me wrong, some things in terms of lessons, being taught certain things, you may have been miseducated or misinformed at a younger age, but as you grow up in your later age, you find out things different or you learn things new, as a young lady or as you becoming a woman. Okay, you learn things over time, which is nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have a cap or a time limit on you progressing and evolving into the, woman or young lady that you are meant to be. It's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing, you don't have to feel no type of inadequacy. It takes time, and it takes you making a decision, not even just a decision, but a choice to want to evolve and grow. When you make the choice to stay in a certain mind frame and not evolve or progress, then you're just going to have that circle of information or that certain mindset to where it's not necessarily progressive or mature enough to be able to match the proper etiquette or mannerism to other women per se. You might have a sort of inferior or superior complex when it comes down to projecting yourself as a young lady to an actual woman that have been through experience and encounters. So to find a balance, you have to make a choice that certain frame of language that you may use in terms of profanity. If profanity is something that you use to articulate yourself or to bring an expression to certain things, and it's just a swag or just a coding that you may take on as a so-called bronze woman, you have to develop a certain quality to where you said, you know what, I'm going to take out certain profanity, and that's a choice that you choose to make, and then later on you make a decision to allow yourself to articulate yourself without using profanity. And that's just giving a prime example of an example of having certain types of mannerism. Okay, you can express yourself without using profanity or being vulgar or graphic or anything like that, and have a delivery of the message get across perfect. Okay, so I'm here to say that it takes a lot of practice upon you choosing to make that decision to present yourself in that certain type of mannerism. Because like I said, it has a lot to do with your behavior, how you speak, your tone of voice, and you're not being so transparent or fake in your tone of voice. Whereas 1 minute you trying to articulate yourself in a certain way as if you are smart and intelligent to one group of people or race of people in particular who you may encounter, and then when you get with your people, it's a whole total different tone. No, a young lady and a woman keep the same tone and match in itself when she interact with any other race or person in her own kind. And that's what you have to understand as bronze women. Okay, we are not transparent, and we are not, diversitile in the language. That's not you having a skill and being able to present yourself in a respectfully manner of things. Respectfully manner is something that you do on a day-to-day basis, as I said, and how you live. Okay, so it's how you present yourself, which is very important as a bronze woman. And then, like I said, the etiquette has a lot to do with social coding and your polite behavior and gestures. One of the things I wanted to stress is the communication. You bronze women have to understand, we have to understand that there's 3 different types of language that go on when we communicate. Okay, and sometimes we can often get understood, or sometimes we miscommunicate certain things. And what I'm here to bring to you bronze women, or that are listening, is that I wanted to project the fact that when it comes down to communication, we have one that we talk in terms of dialect, what we communicate, in terms of verbalizing what it is that needs to be said. And from our facial expression, it speaks another language, and our body language speaks another language in itself. So if your tone and the message is not matching with your facial expression and your body language, that can often go misunderstood. So you might be saying the right thing. You know how it's that saying when they say, oh, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. That's because of your facial and your body language did not match up with what you said, especially in the tone. Okay, so it's like you bring you bring attitude to the tone and how you project yourself. So you could be saying the right thing, giving the right delivery of the message and things like that, but because of how you say it or how you present yourself in facial expression or body language might say a total different thing, where as the person won't even hear what you said and disregard what you said and just go off of what your whole demeanor. So you have to be mindful of the fact that there's 3 different types of communication going on. Okay, not alone the dialect that goes on internally within ourselves. We have to deal with that dialect first, before we actually present the outer layer of what needs to be communicated in terms of gestures and things like that, and how our behavior, how we view things and things of that nature. Okay, so etiquette, if you want to get more in detail about it, you want to get more in depth about how to present yourself at a wedding, things of that nature, like dress coding, or when you go to visit someone's house, or somebody invites you to their house, just give an example, you might want to bring a gift to the person house or something like that. Those are good gestures and proper etiquette as a bronze woman per se. And that's just, commonalities that we all have, just in general. Okay, so just, if you want more emphasis and more outlook on that, you can always, look it up, research it on etiquette and things like that. If you do have an interest, if you know that your mannerism is top scale and it's a high standard, and you want to be able to project that in your etiquettes and in your knowledge and things like that, then it will be a good thing to research it and be able to certain types of gestures and be able to, be classy in your act and how you do things, okay? But if you don't really have an interest in that, you just have a more casual base, outlook on things, then that's fine, okay? As long as your demeanor, how you project yourself as a bronze woman is displayed professionally, okay? So that's one of the things I just wanted to put across. And with that being said, we'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. Okay, so the next question that's up is what is the difference between casual and professional attire and how to dress accordingly? So one of the things that I wanted to stress is the difference between casual wear and professional wear. Now, anything that's casual wear we know is typical jeans, maybe sneakers, shoes, or however way you want to, dress it up in a shirt or blouse or things like that. That's all like casual wear. And having a purse and then having extra accessories like jewelry, like, earrings and things like that, and how you want to dress it up accordingly between casual and professional. So casual is very broad from, sports wear in terms of you wearing like gym clothes. It has a lot of casual attire to that. And then you going out to a brunch or things like that. It has a lot. It falls under the category of just casual wear. And even when you having a casual attire, one of the things is you want to be able to coordinate your clothes and have like certain capsules of clothing where you have a color, it's color coordinated, and then you have it matching up with certain clothes. And being able to, when I say capsule, you can have one outfit, but in that one outfit, like you purchase like 5 outfits, you can get at least 25 wears or wardrobes out of that whole capsule based on the 5 outfits that you brought, based on how you match things up and how you coordinate it. Color coordination and things like that have a lot to do with that. Okay, so that falls under, just casual wear in itself. Okay, so that's something totally different to how professional wear is. Now, professional wear has a lot to do with you going into the workplace or the corporate world, and you have a corporate office. Your attire, you cannot wear something casual to a corporate office or things like that and, be okay with it. A lot of times the standard or expectation is to have a professional wear, whereas you have professional blouse, pants, not just pants, but dress pants, I should say, with some shoes and things like that, and make sure that you are very presentable and things of that nature when you're going into that type of, setting. And then not to mention, but also if you have a type of occupation, whereas you have to wear a certain uniform, you want to make sure that you wearing that uniform in a high and most standard uplead form, meaning if you represent a certain type of company, you want to make sure that your behavior and mannerism is of high esteem and not so much whereas you just disregarding the fact you representing the company and you wearing a uniform attire, and you disregarding the fact that certain protocols and rules amongst that company, and you just interjecting your mannerism, and it's not in the highest form. Okay, so you want to be able to be mindful of that, because it's a time and place for everything. And if you're wearing your uniform and you doing displays or you showing certain aspects of what you're doing on the job, that's not something that's professional. Okay, so that's very unprofessional. But when it comes down to the wear, you want to make sure that how you wear your clothing is not worn out. You want to make sure that the clothing is fitting on you, not too tight, not too loose or anything like that, but just enough to where you look very presentable, clean, and regal. When you have a professional attire. Another thing is when you go into dinner, you want to make sure that you are classy and have a nice, definition about yourself as a bronze woman, where you're not being so revealing but very modest and classy, where you smell good, you look beautiful, and your hair is, beautiful and nice and things like that. All of those things you want to be mindful of. Okay, and then, like if you're going to a wedding or something like that, that has a lot to do with professional wear and how to present yourself. Okay, so a lot of this plays a whole key role in the aspect, in quality of the bronze woman and how she presents herself. Okay, one of the essence that I also wanted to talk about is the feminine quality of a bronze woman. And one of the things that came to mind is that this has more or less to do with the mannerism and etiquette, that you have a lot of feminists, should I say. They have a appearance of a feminine quality, but the mindset is very masculine, to whereas they want to actually match not only the challenge but physical strength of an actual man in terms of title, compensation, and just strength and quality. And that's not conducive for a bronze woman to take on that aspect. It takes away and it robs you of that feminine quality, that full and regal quality of yourself as a bronze woman, when you take on the attribute and the appearance of a feminine quality, but you have a very masculine and strong mindset. Now, don't get me wrong, it's okay to be resilient. It's totally different from you interjecting yourself and presenting yourself in a certain way where you demand respect or you expecting certain things, and when you actually get the treatment that's similar to the treatment of a man, you are displeased or disgruntled about the situation because you feel that because you have a womanly quality that you're supposed to be respected. It's sort of like a double standard, which is unacceptable. Okay, so this is one of those situations that we have to know our place as bronze women. Some people might be dissatisfied with me and disagree with me to agree with me. But at the end of the day, we have to know our place as bronze women and know our worth and our strength, and not allow our strength or values to be defined by things that we acquire or obtain material-wise. Okay, and then looking for means of demands and of respect and things like that. Okay, so we want to be very mindful of how we not only present in ourselves, but being able to not go off of the double standard of your feminine quality because you're a woman, that you automatically get respect because of your title and things like that, or you having to the same compensation of being compensated as a man and things like that. And then when, like I said, you treat it like that, then it's a double standard. We have to disregard that mindset at all costs. Now, for those women that are single, you're a mother and you're working and you just handling your own, more power to you. But one thing I would say is that if you are a single woman and you have, sons or whatever the case might be, or, daughters, but mainly particular sons, I think they will appreciate the fact of you working, not only working hard and maintaining the household and home, but the fact that you stayed a role as a mother and not interjecting the fact, oh, I'm your mother and your father at the same time, because you're doing both, being a breadwinner and maintaining your home. I think the son, like I said, would appreciate the balance between you understanding that, okay, I'm a woman and the only thing that I can do is be a mother to you and be able to maintain this home. When you have that, that gives your son a different outlook, opposed to having this outlook of having a self-righteous or demanding, of respect. It kind of weakens your son's capability to be strong. If you are a single woman in a single parenting home, it weakens his view and outlook on things. So you want to be able to project yourself in a different way, whereas, okay, yeah, your son going to automatically want to protect you and want to do things accordingly, or whatever the case might be, especially if he see you going out working and doing things, or whatever the case might be, to maintain the home. Of course, he's going to want to reciprocate that back and be able to bring something back to the table. Okay, so when you're not enabling him to whereas he's not doing anything or contributing things, but you are not even enforcing, but you are showing that certain qualities is acceptable and expected of young men of their age. Okay, and then you go from there. But one of the things that you want to be mindful of is that not only do you want to have a male figure presented, because they have to develop into a young man, so that's very important that they do have. Sometimes they have a man presented to where they can show them how to be, how to conduct themselves as young men. Okay, so that's why it's very important on that aspect of things. Okay, so you don't want to give them a mixed signal or go off of that double standard of, you being feminine in one aspect, then you turn it, you having a masculine, very strong and masculine, feminine, a feminist kind of mindset, which, like I said, robs you of your feminine quality as a bronze woman. Okay, so that's just something to just keep in mind, along with the fact of, you being able to, dress accordingly and things like that. How you dress and things like that, it defines who you are. People could tell who you are just by the things that you put on, you choose to put on in terms of your clothing and things like that. And my whole thing is that first impression is always the last impression of how you present yourself. So that's why dress code is very, 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 very important. Okay, so moving along to the next question, which is how to practice clean hygiene and clean appearance in public and in private. Okay, so before I even go on into that next question, something that came to mind, because I only mentioned, single mothers that are raising sons, but I did not mention single mothers that may be raising daughters. Okay, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that you want to have this mindset that you want your daughter to be better than you. Not only better, but be able to make better choices in life, and you not sabotage that because you see them being successful, and then you want to sabotage it by, giving them self-doubt or setting them up for failure. You want to be able to give them a better view and aspect of things that you didn't get in your earlier life. You want to be able to give them better things or give them the best in turn, and be genuine and sincere about that. Because when you have that type of mindset, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be successful in the future, opposed to growing up and second guessing themselves or setting themselves up for failure and things like that, or not being able to complete a task and things like that. So when you show your daughters otherwise, that you start stuff, you complete it, and they see that strong quality about yourself as a mother and as a young, a young lady or a woman, just in general, they see that, and not only do they want to emulate it, but they want to be able to develop into that same strong regal quality that you exude as a young, lady or woman or mother per se. Okay, so that's just something to just keep in mind. And you want to, develop good values and qualities in themselves, not just things that they can obtain in terms of quantity to bring value, but things that are going to be morally of value in terms of their character building and things like that is important. Okay, and then another thing too, you want to be careful if you are a single mother, careful of bringing your daughters around certain men, and you want to be able to make sure that whatever relationship that you get in and things like that, and it, vice versa for sons as well, you want to make sure that you understand and you know this man thoroughly before you have any man come around your children, especially your daughters. Okay, and then you want to also be able to build yourself up enough so to where that trust can be, extended to, that bronze man in particular, because that is the expectation. When you have that bronze man, and you not only having the mindset that you want a male figure, but you want a father figure in placement of where there is lack. Okay, so if the father is around and, you're not together or whatever the case might be, then that's just you co-parenting, but you want to make sure it's in the most healthiest form. Okay, so that's just, something to just keep in mind. Okay, so now going to how to practice clean hygiene and clean appearance in public and private. Now, my whole thing when it comes down to privacy, whatever you do in private, basically the day-to-day habits that you have, it can be good habits, it can be bad habits. It all depends on you as a bronze woman. Okay, so what you do in private will eventually be reflected on how you interact and deal with things outwardly, outside. Okay, so that's something to be mindful of. But when it comes down to clean hygiene in public, one of the things that you want to be is self-aware of your hair, your nails, you're having fresh breath, and your body odor. These things are very, 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 very important. Okay, when I say very important, I mean very important. Not something that you have to be. It's not something to be negligent for or ignore. But you have to have the most highest form as a bronze woman of how you present yourself in public. Okay, now when it comes down to your hair, okay, if you are natural, whatever the case might be, you have a hair weave or whatever the case, however way you're doing it, even though I do not condone wearing manes, other women manes on your head or things like that, or wearing weaves or whatever, but more or less the hair in particular. Let's say you're natural. One of the things that you want to be mindful of is that it doesn't necessarily bring emphasis on the fact that you may comb and brush your hair. That's nice and that's all, presumable, when you brush and comb your hair. But when it comes down to styling, that's another important part of a factor in you being able to actually the maintenance of your hair and you being able to do your hair accordingly. Now, if you just brushing and combing your hair and just leaving it a certain way, whatever the case might be, and it's just left not styled or put in a certain way, whatever the case might be, then that goes to show that you're not conscious and aware of being aware of how you look or how you come across to other people. Now, you might got some women that say, I don't care what other people think or whatever. This is how I like it. This is how I want it to be. That's all fine. But one of the things that you want to present is that you want to be the best version of yourself, and you want people to see that as well. When you got people that look at you and be like, oh, well, and they look at the person here or your hair not being upkept, or they may see your hair is combed and brushed, but they like, okay, you're not, in your best form, whatever the case might be. Now, this could be the opinion of people being judgmental or whatever the case might be, but at the end of the day, it's all how you present yourself. Okay, so having a combed and brush hair, that's fine. Especially if you are a bronze woman and you just feel like, okay, you a naturalist and you just feel like, I'm not going to even comb and brush my hair, I just want it out. That's something to be mindful and aware of, because if you walking around and everybody looking at you and they seeing you, yeah, they see a natural bronze woman, but your hair is not combed. Okay, when I say combed, it's not, you didn't even put a brush or a comb through it. It's just there. Okay, so that's something that you want to be mindful of how you present your hair and how you go accordingly. Now, don't get me wrong. You got some women that's out there that have beautiful afros. That's nice, like natural afros, and it's beautiful how they present themselves, how they take the time to oil their hair, comb and grease their scalp and things like that. They actually take time in the maintenance of their hair, and they have an afro. They look beautiful, very gorgeous with their afros from small to actual big. But when you don't care, going back to private, when you don't care about the maintenance of your hair in terms of actually washing it, oiling it, combing it, making sure it looks presentable, making sure you feel confident and look good in your own skin and you look beautiful as a bronze woman, if you're not taking the time and energy to do that, then it's going to reflect outwardly and people are going to see something totally different, whether you care about their opinions or not. So being able to have like a certain regimen, which I'm going to talk about, in private is very important of what you do to your hair. Taking the time and energy, you have to take effort and take the time in doing your hair. And when I say doing your hair, I don't mean and you going to just a beautician and they putting the hair, a mane in your head, or you getting your hair braided by so-called African women or whatever the case might be. I don't mean that, okay? That's just partially about it. When you don't want to take the time out to do your hair, whatever, people go and do these things. But at the end of the day, when I'm saying when you taking a conscious effort in taking care of your own hair, your own, your self-care, and you're not putting other manes or hair weaves in your hair, but you're taking care of your actual hair, then that's what I'm talking about and what I mean by that, okay? And then the nails, your nails, you don't necessarily have to have polish. You don't necessarily have to be flashy and presentable with it, but you want to make sure that your nails is cut. You're clean. You don't have no dirt under your nails and things like that. These are the things that you want to be mindful of as bronze women, because that says a whole lot about you and who you are as a bronze woman. Okay, I don't care if you have your pockets are heavy or whatever the case might be, but if your nails is not clean and you're not looking presentable, that says a lot about you. Okay, and then not only that, but fresh breath. Like, I make sure I keep a spray or some Altoid mints or something like that. I mean, I don't have no shame in my game. It is what it is. But I really, make sure that, my appearance, I'm very self-aware of my appearance, that I look very presentable, so the expectation is the same and equal in return. But when it comes down to fresh breath, you want to make sure your breath is fresh, where you're not offending no one with, a smell to your breath and things like that. So sometimes you may not even be mindful of that, especially you bronze women that may not talk a lot, and you may not even drink water a lot. And sometimes, you might feel that as though, okay, yeah, you look pretty outwardly, but your breath can be very displeasing to other people. Now, it happened to me a few times, and I've been told personally that, okay, you need to do something about the breath thing. And I took care of that immediately. I didn't take it as an insult or anything like that. I took care of it immediately and effectively, because that goes along with your hygiene and how you present yourself. So there's no shame and no game in you being able to take care of yourself, especially when people, notice these things. So, fresh breath is, I'm telling you, it goes a long way in you being able to communicate. Sometimes you might be wanting to talk about something very personal and effective, and the person may not be able to take the time to hear you out because your breath may not be pleasing. So you want to make sure that even if you're going to communicate something to someone, your breath is fresh. You got to like a spray or something or some mints to put in your mouth, and then be able to talk to the person and not just be talking, because it's not so much of the voice or what you're talking about that's offensive. It could just be your breath offensive. Okay, so like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, and correcting that and working on that accordingly. Okay, like I said, it happened to me before, and I've been told on the spot, and I took care of it like a bronze woman would do. Okay, so it happens. It happens sometimes. That's why one of the things to alleviate bad breath is to at least drink a lot of water, and like I said, keep mints or spray on you is something to have in handy. And then sometimes when you have one of the things that I use, is lemon and water, and sometimes a little bit of baking soda. When you use a little bit of that, sometimes it eliminates the odor automatically in the breath. So that's just something that you can use in terms of being hygienic and making sure your breath is on point practically. Okay, so when it comes down to the body odor, now when it comes down to the lower area, I'm talking about from the waist and on down. Some women are mindful of it and some women are not. When you have a fishy odor, you automatically know that it's something wrong. It's a UTI going on there. Okay, and sometimes when you have that fishy smell and it's something going on down there, that needs to be taken care of immediately, because that can be very offensive to people as well. When you have that smell, or you just have a very musty odor as a bronze woman, that's not cool. Okay, so one of the things that you want to be make sure of is not only that you're fresh down there in that area, but you're actually giving that area medical attention that it needs, such as you can at least some people use a certain type of cream to get rid of like the symptoms of having a UTI or something like that. Or sometimes you just might get yeast infection. Sometimes you want to minimize the amount of bread and stuff that you eat, and then not only that, but you want to make sure that every 6 months you're going up for your pap smears and taking care of yourself as a bronze woman. These things are very important. You gotta treat your body like it's a prize. Okay, you gotta make sure that you take care of yourself and not just let yourself go, or feel that some things is important, some things are not. You can't have that type of mindset, because that's gonna only hurt you in the long run. Okay, so you want to be able to be mindful of that area. And then sometimes some people do a vaginal steam, which I took an interest in doing. It has its pros and it has its cons to it, but doing that occasionally and then having certain types of spas is good as a bronze woman. Okay, another thing would be going back up. When it comes down to the underarms and stuff like that, you want to make sure that you don't have a musty smell to you. You want to make sure you put deodorant on. Sometimes you can make your own deodorant by having simple oils and certain types of other ingredients to use, and make your own type of deodorant that you want if you don't feel comfortable using the regular deodorant products. Okay, so you want to make sure that that's on point and that you just have a nice fragrance to yourself, okay, as a bronze woman. And you don't necessarily have to use perfume, okay? Certain types of oils as a bronze woman, when you wear a certain type of body oil and you keep that scented body oil on you, it has a very signature smell and body odor, to whereas it's like your own scent. So having oils instead of perfumes is a beautiful thing. Some people might say, oh, well, it's cheap having oils when I can have this perfume. To each its own. But I'm just saying, preferably having a certain type of oil or fragrance in particular, is good to just have in general. Okay, instead of going for all the designer perfumes and things like that, that's all nice and cute. But if you want to have that signature smell where it's different from anybody else, I would say go with a specific oil, a nice oil that you can have, a scented oil that's for you and that's unique for you, for yourself. Okay, so that's about body odor and things like that. And another thing too, when you sweat, you have sweat glands and you smell of certain things, you want to be able to give it certain types of medical attention. When you sweating out your pores and it's a certain type of scent, it needs medical attention, because your body could be telling you things or giving you signs about something that you need to pay attention to. Okay, another quadruple thing in terms of, those things, you have to make sure that you are being mindful of that. And especially if you are in public and you have your menstrual cycle. One of the things that you want to do, and that I expressed before, when you ladies, when you have your sanitary napkin, you do not just throw your sanitary napkin in the garbage, or you don't leave it around in the stalls or anything like that. You make sure you take some tissue, you wrap it up in tissue, and then you dispose of it. Or sometimes if you want to go the extra mile, take a plastic bag with you so you can dispose of it in a plastic bag, then throw it in the garbage. If you want to have that type of class with yourself, opposed to just throwing your sanitary napkin, bloody napkin, in the garbage and things like that. And I don't mean to be graphic, but that's just something to be mindful of, okay? Going back to mannerism and etiquette. Okay, so that's just something that you want to be able to do. And with that being said, we'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. To briefly fill in the gaps of what I talked about in terms of the remedy for fresh breath, what I said was that you can use water, lemon, like squeeze lemon in the water, and then use a little bit of baking soda and use it to gargle. That's something that you could do at least, 4 times a week or whatever, and then that will actually cure bad breath. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that up to fill in the missing gaps about that. But to move along into clean hygiene in private, and that has a lot to do with self-care, which consists of you being able to do like a certain type of hair regimen at night, whereas you oil your hair or do something in particular, spray with a spray bottle, and then wrap it up with a satin scarf on your head. Because for those who have from between 4A to 4C type hair, one of the things that you want to be able to use is a satin scarf on your head, opposed to using like a stocking cap or something, because usually when you use a stocking cap, that takes up a lot of moisture away from your hair. So you just want to be mindful of that when you wear a satin scarf on your hair, 4C type hair. Okay, so the grooming of nails, even if you have to file your nails at home, clean it a little bit, clip your nails, that comes without saying, and then brushing your teeth. We all know that you have to at least brush your teeth twice in one day. You have to at least do that in terms of brushing your teeth to make sure, your teeth is upkept and things of that nature, or, that you using the type of care in terms of the maintenance of your teeth and things like that. Okay, so another thing is bathing frequently. We all know that that's at least 2 to 3 times per day or per se. Some people just do it 2 times a day, or sometimes even 1, but 2 times the most, is presentable. And the only reason why I carried on to 3 is because sometimes we go through our menstrual cycle, and sometimes the bathing is required, and sometimes when you are actually, using the bathroom, but this is within your home, and you actually, using the bathroom, and what most people say, number 2, whatever, you want to make sure you clean yourself after and things like that, and not just, wiping yourself and going along, but it takes effort, action to actually clean yourself and make sure that area is cleansed, so bathing frequently is very important as a part of self-care, and you taking the time and effort and energy to make sure that you are well groomed. And based on that in particular, it defines how you will present yourself in public. Okay, and then the appearance part of how you present yourself in public. As I said, your wardrobe, the things that you wear outside. It says a lot about you, your behavior and mannerism. It defines your character. And then basically, as a bronze woman, you want to make sure that your material statement as a bronze woman, you got to understand this, that it defines only your potential and your value, worth, presumably by default by your moral fiber. So basically, if you wear designer clothes, you got designer bag, and you have all of those things, automatically, people will put a value on you and a worth that, okay, yeah, she's beautiful and she got those things. But the downside to that is, do you feel as beautiful as you look? Okay, do you have a peace of mind, which is more valuable than anything? Okay, so you want to make sure that those things play a factor in that as well. And as I said before, first impression is the last impression of all things. Okay, and then when it comes down to your private aspect of your life, the wardrobe that you wear on the inside around the home, to be more relaxed is important. The respect and privacy that you have defines your personality and who you are, even though your behavior and mannerism defines your character, but the respect and level of privacy defines your personality, because based on your level of respect and privacy that you have for yourself, you will be able to extend those qualities to other people as well. And just being a bronze woman in general, your mission statement as a bronze woman signify your purpose and power in life by definition, which is your moral factor that basically shows that you had good upbringing and that you are a woman of not only worth but value. Okay, so when you walk with a mission statement, not in just with a material statement of the things that you have and acquire, but you walk and you present yourself with as if you have everything about you says a statement in itself, and it has a mission behind it, speaks volumes. Okay, and then your habitual behavior in private, can become the success or failures of your whole image as a bronze woman. So you want to make sure that you not only find a balance between your mental strength and weaknesses, but you want to make sure what are you doing habitually that is a weakness that you have that you need to work on and bringing about as a strong quality. Okay, so these are the things that are very, very important. And in closing, one of the things I wanted to talk about is what are some of the common etiquettes that bronze women and young ladies should know. Okay, and this is just all opinionated based. Okay, and this is just common etiquette that bronze women should adopt and have. And that is knowing that gossip and conversations are two different forms of communication. When you are gossiping, you are giving news flash about someone, but realize you're talking about somebody else, not about yourself. And you know how they say when people that talk about other people have small minds. So basically, you don't have anything going for yourself when you're always talking about people. Okay, so to each its own. You have to understand that if you're thriving off of gossip and things like that, things that being presented, and you just want something to talk about or have something to talk about or things like that, that's really useless. It's not even really benefiting you to, air somebody else's laundry or talk about somebody else. That's all gossip and things like that. Because at the end of the day, you might feel like one of those big eyes and little U's and have, this type of mindset, but it's not being productive or conducive for you as a bronze woman. Okay, but when you're having a conversation, the conversation consists more of a give and exchange. And when I say a give and exchange, something that's more useful and practical and productive, a conversation that's going on opposed to just gossip and rumors going around and things like that is different. That's not bonding when you are gossiping with another, bronze woman and you think that, okay, y'all bonding. That's not bonding, because guess what? The same way how that person could talk about you, that bronze woman may be talking about you, she could do the same thing with somebody else. Their interaction with you is interchangeable, and it's all based off their mood. Okay, so you have to understand this is all a development and quality as a bronze woman. There's some things that you have to outgrow and some things that you have to mature into in terms of changing your conversation that you have, especially if you are an older woman. If you're still talking about useless gossip and things like that, that's not really benefiting you in the end, then what's the whole point? If you got jealousy issues, you need to deal with that accordingly, because jealousy just defines a love and hate kind of relationship that you develop, with other bronze women, which is not healthy and very unhealthy. I'm here to say that. Okay, so know that there's a difference between the two, and the delivery is totally different. Okay, realize, like I said, gossip, you're talking about somebody. That's the delivery of the message. But when you having a conversation is more of an interaction, something where you being productive and there's an interaction going on to where it's useful. Okay, so those are the forms of communication. And respect, it should be equally viewed and given by all means necessary in spite of any circumstances of our views and response, which depends on our effort to maintain self-control. Okay, so when I say respect, if somebody treats you a certain way, that does not mean that you match them in the same respect and how they match you, or whatever the case might be. You know how they say fire fights fire? You don't have to present yourself back in return, because I'm realizing, and you bronze women should realize, that when somebody gets you upset and they get you bent out of, shape and get you out of character, they have control over you. And the last thing you want to ever do is give somebody the benefit of having control over you by getting you bent out of shape. So one of the things you want to be mindful of is make sure that you are always in tune with yourself, your emotions, and how you're going to respond, and always resort to being respectful. as much as possible. Okay, because you will always win when you have that mindset, opposed to having a very, degrading, and disrespectful demeanor about yourself. Okay, so last and not least is self-entitlement that is unhealthy is malignant a form of self-love. Okay, whereas a person is just thinking about me, and not really thinking about the other person and the things that they have to go through, or being aware of how their actions is hurting another person. When you just have that level of self-entitlement, that's unhealthy, because it do not define our true worth in who we are as bronze women. When you do that, when you have to hurt somebody else to make yourself feel happy, that's not cool, based off of self-entitlement and you just being, who you are and things like that. That needs a reality check. Okay, because if you gotta hurt people in order for you to feel good, or think that you have to, you think you helping them but you're really hurting them, that's not good. You need a reality check, a self-check about yourself. Okay, so that's one. And then realize that self-entitlement should be expected by the power of your work that you produce in effort, but not by the accumulation and calculation to gain a title. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. Self-entitlement should be expected by the power of your work that you produce in effort, but not by the accumulation and calculation to gain a title. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. And with that being said, I thank you all. And one of the things before I end, another thing that I did mention is that the amount of self-love that you have for yourself will only reflect the amount of self-respect that we have for ourselves as bronze women, including for others. Okay, so with that being said, thank you all for taking the time out to listen to NETERAL Radio Show, and I hope that you all have a wonderful night. And I'm hoping that you were able to get something, gather something from this show. So with that being said, you all have a great night and take care. Good night.